I'm waging war on perfectionism. When I started teaching at a secondary school, on my very first day, I entered the art room and I wrote 3 big words nice and large on the whiteboard. These words were like an anthem to me. They represented the biggest stronghold that I considered my mission to wage war against in this classroom. And the words were this: perfectionism kills creativity. I hammered this phrase into my students' heads for years. Maybe if one of those students are watching, you can bear witness to this. And I still hold this same conviction. The biggest stumbling block for anyone who is wanting to learn art is 1, to overcome the fear of getting things wrong, but 2, to overcome the expectation to get things perfect. Even as I'm painting this artwork, my choice of colours is completely different to what I planned from the beginning. I had a perfect vision for this artwork, but I had to break it. Why? Well, I was becoming quite overwhelmed by the beauty of the highly saturated colours in the orange background, and I was really interested in the contrast that these colours were making. Put simply, I became distracted by my own curiosity. It's at this moment I rejected the perfect and embraced the curious. And I don't quite know where it's going to take me. At this point, the face seems perhaps a bit too colourful. But you know what? Let's just go with it. So I've been reflecting on this phrase, perfection kills creativity. I became very good at teaching this to my students, and sometimes I remember them repeating the phrase back to me if they saw the mistakes on my own PowerPoints or something like that. It became a bit of a joke. But the problem is, I became better at teaching the idea than doing it. It's a curious thing. The teacher teaches, but they don't do. I remember when I first discovered my love for art, I was literally obsessed. When I was 17, I made up these posters to advertise my artwork. Have your portrait painted for $200. And so I went around from shopping centre to supermarket to Adelaide Arcade, just past the Rundle Mall's Bulls. If you know them, you know them. And I wanted to put up this poster, so I decided to pop upstairs and ask the management. And so I knocked on the door, and someone opens the door, and behold, it's a meeting full of people. So I briefly and a bit shyly asked them, hey, do you mind if I put up this poster somewhere? I'm a 17-year-old artist, and I gave a bit of my spiel. And they responded with a definitive, no, you can't do that. But, they said, we're actually having a meeting about this art festival we're going to run, and we need an artist just like you to exhibit in this mall. So would you like an exhibition for free? I was super excited, and I painted all these portraits and got them up on the walls, but I forgot to invite anyone. The exhibition began, and it turns out the person across from me did lots of advertising and invited thousands of people, and they queued up to his space, but his artworks were so expensive that people walked in, walked out, walked across the mall, and bought my artworks instead. I sold out. So I became obsessed with painting day after day. But over time, something eventually happened. I started to expect excellence for every artwork I would approach, and I became obsessed with photorealism. Then I started brushing all my brushstrokes out, so the canvas was left just flat, smooth, and deadly sterile. And eventually, I became afraid. Afraid of my own artwork and afraid of making mistakes. Afraid of showing these mistakes and exposing them to the judgment of others. I became a perfectionist. And perfectionism doesn't just kill creativity, it kills the idea before it even has the opportunity to be creative. I want to embark on a new era. Embrace the imperfect. Start wandering down the creative tangents of curiosity just to see where I end up. Embrace execution over excellence. Is there a problem with excellence? Well, excellence is a good thing, but it can so easily become out of balance if it becomes the only value. The Italians birthed a renaissance from science, philosophy, and raw, uninhibited passion. Excellence was there, but it wasn't the main goal. Artists were inspired by deeper convictions of truth and beauty and goodness. They wanted to say something so much that it could only be said excellently. Now, you may not agree with me, but I have a bit of a bias, because when I contrast this with the Russian Academy and the French Academy of the 18th and 19th century, things just became a bit too excellent. A bit too austere, a bit too precise and perfect, and a bit boring. I think excellence is a brilliant value, but it only works when you have other motivating forces to propel you down the path of an artist. Values like honesty, contentment, consistency, showing up and getting the job done. I suppose that's why I'm trying to loosen up in this artwork. Embrace mistakes that emerge and the free-flowing brushstrokes I'm trying to form in the background. You might say it's a bit messy, but that's the point. For too long I've been caught in the trap of perfectionism. I remember teaching a student with vision impairment, and when she walked into my classroom as a young teenager, I realized that blindness was just the smallest part of her story. The bigger story was fear. Fear that she might make a mistake. So I put a piece of paper and some paintbrushes in front of her, and I invited her to embrace the biggest challenge of all. So with all the teacherly conviction I could muster, I asked her to make the ugliest artwork she could possibly imagine. I told her it has to be hideous. I want to vomit when I look at this artwork. And then she breathed a deep sigh of relief. You mean it doesn't have to be perfect? And so she just started making an ugly artwork. But the problem was that she couldn't do it. Every artwork that she thought was ugly, I genuinely found truly beautiful. The brushwork was so confidently applied to each page, and the colours were so outlandish that you couldn't help but find them rather beautiful. This 14-year-old vision-impaired student went on to become one of the best artists I've taught, but only when she waged war with fear. Let's wage war. Seriously, let's wage war together on this radically defiling and debilitating bondage of comparison. This shackle of fear that keeps you from doing things you were created to do from the beginning. If you're afraid, do that thing and do it imperfectly. Someday you might stumble on a beauty that you never thought was possible, but you have to begin. Whew. I didn't realize that this rant would turn out this way, and to be honest, I didn't plan for this artwork to be so red. Maybe it's my overly inspired mood, but I'm glad about this. Today I painted another painting and I haven't hidden it under my bed. If you got inspired to do the same, let me know. I'm genuinely curious. What is that thing you're going to put aside to chase that thing you're actually born to do? Let me know. Drop me a comment and let's keep this creativity flowing. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. I just wanted to say the best way to support is to hit that subscribe button. It just enables me to do more videos like this. So if you liked it, I'd love to hear from you, but please hit that button.